The project began as a quiet dream, the kind of idea that appears in a tranquil afternoon when the sunlight filters through the window in thin golden ribbons. On the table lay a wooden tray filled with hundreds of tiny shapes: petals, leaves, blades of grass, and delicate curves that seemed almost too small to hold. Each piece had been carefully cut from thin sheets of painted wood and polished until smooth. The goal was both simple and ambitious: to assemble these fragments into a single, breathtaking picture of flowers and grass, and to pair it with an ancient poem so that art and literature could breathe together in harmony. At first, the pieces appeared scattered and unrelated. A yellow crescent here, a green stroke there, a curved white shard that could have been part of a petal or a cloud. My hands moved slowly, almost reverently, as I began sorting them by color and shape. The warm tones gold, crimson, soft pink formed a bright pile for the flowers, while the greens, from pale mint to deep forest, made another for the grass and stems. I could feel the faint grain of the wood under my fingertips, a reminder that every part of this artwork was grounded in nature itself. The process of assembly was like weaving a silent story. I started from the bottom edge of the canvas, where the blades of grass would grow. Each piece was a different angle, a different length, yet when I aligned them side by side, they began to sway together like a meadow in a gentle wind. I adjusted the shades so they flowed naturally: darker greens at the base, fading to lighter tips just as in a real field where sunlight kisses the upper edges of each blade. The gaps between them had to be minimal, too wide, and the illusion would break, too tight, and the pattern would lose its rhythm. Once the meadow base was complete, I turned to the flowers. The petals were not uniform. Some were rounded and soft, others long and pointed, with tiny gradients painted across their surface. I took my time fitting each one around the small wooden discs that formed the center of the blooms. The first flower was a vivid crimson with a golden heart, the second a pale pink with edges blushed in lavender, and the third a sunny yellow that seemed to brighten the entire scene. Each bloom had to be positioned just so, tilted slightly toward the viewer, as if caught in the moment of turning to greet the sun. Above the flowers, I left space for the ancient poem. The words had been chosen long before I began the project, a centuries-old verse that spoke of fleeting beauty and the eternal cycle of nature. I wrote each character on a thin strip of parchment, using a fine brush and deep black ink, the bristles whispering softly against the paper. The strokes were slow and deliberate, following the old calligraphy style, each line carrying the weight of tradition. Once dry, the poem strips were carefully mounted onto the upper section of the panel, their presence balancing the vivid life of the meadow below with the quiet wisdom of the written word. The joining of all these elements, grass, flowers, poem, was not a mechanical task but a dialogue between past and present, hand and material, vision and patience. Every time I pressed a piece into place, I imagined the sound of wind in a spring meadow or the voice of a poet centuries ago murmuring the same lines I had written. Sometimes, I would pause, lift my head, and look at the nearly finished work from a distance. The individual parts dissolved into a seamless whole, the way separate notes form a melody. There were challenges along the way. Some pieces refused to fit where I thought they belonged, forcing me to rethink the layout. A petal might be slightly too curved, requiring a gentle sanding at the edge. A section of grass might feel too heavy in color, needing to be swapped with a lighter shade. It was a constant act of adjusting and refining, a reminder that even in planned artistry, there is room for discovery. I learned to listen to what the artwork wanted, rather than forcing my original vision upon it. When the final piece clicked into place, a tiny white petal resting in the heart of the tallest bloom, I felt a quiet surge of completion. The meadow stretched across the lower half of the panel, vibrant yet gentle, the flowers swaying in frozen motion. Above them, the poem rested like a soft whisper, its inked lines standing in graceful contrast to the colors below. Together, they told a story without a single spoken word, a story of seasons, of the meeting between human craft and natural beauty, of the way art can preserve a moment that would otherwise fade. In the soft evening light, I placed the finished artwork on a stand and stepped back. Shadows from the petals and blades gave the piece depth, making it seem almost alive. The poem, now surrounded by the glow of the room, appeared as if suspended in time. I thought of the many hands that had shaped this moment, the painter who colored the wooden sheets, the craftsman who cut the pieces, the poet who centuries ago dipped a brush into ink and poured thought into verse. I was merely the bridge between them, the one who brought their contributions together into a single frame. Creating this piece had been more than a project, it was a meditation. Every fragment reminded me that beauty is often the result of countless small acts, each one done with care. The meadow was not real, and yet it carried the warmth of sunlight and the softness of grass beneath bare feet. The poem was old, but its truth felt as fresh as the morning dew. I realized that in the act of assembling this artwork, I had also assembled something within myself, a patience I did not know I had, an attentiveness to detail that made the world seem richer. When I finally set the piece on display, visitors paused before it in quiet admiration. Some leaned closer to trace the intricate joints between pieces, marveling at the precision. Others read the poem aloud in a gentle voice, letting the words drift over the flowers like wind over a field. In their reactions, I saw the circle completed. The fragments that had once been scattered now belonged to everyone who stood before them, carrying their own interpretations and emotions away. And so, the picture of flowers and grass, joined with an ancient poem, became more than a decorative object. It became a conversation across centuries, a testament to the enduring power of craftsmanship and the timelessness of nature's beauty. Each time I look at it, I am reminded that even the smallest pieces can create something vast, and that art, like a meadow in bloom, is best appreciated not in haste, but in stillness.